Hi, my name is Chris White. I am one of the founders of the Creative Investing Club, and I want to welcome you to this very special presentation. Today, I want to talk to you about how to safely get $10,000 of cash flow every month in real estate without all the hassle. And to start off our conversation, I want to tell you, why did I create this training? And the simple answer is, I wanted to address the big, difficult problem. Okay, so in order to talk about the big, difficult problem, I first want to point out that what I've discovered talking to people all over the country is that most people understand that investing in real estate is one of the best vehicles out there for generating financial freedom. Okay, now I don't know if 90% is the exact statistic. This is supposedly a statement from Andrew Carnegie, but I think we all can agree it's a really, really high percentage of people who become millionaires through investing in real estate. So the big question in the room is, if everybody really understands that, then why aren't more people investing in real estate? Okay, and this is where the big, difficult problem showed up for me when I was having this conversation with people. Okay, and this big, difficult problem shows up in three different ways. Okay, the first way, when I talk to people about, why aren't you investing in real estate if you understand how valuable of a vehicle it is for generating financial freedom, a lot of people tell me, it's really time. They're too busy with other life priorities to really sit down and really understand how they could invest in real estate in the right way to get the type of returns and have the type of success that they'd want to have. Okay, so it's time. The second part of the big, difficult problem that shows up is overwhelm. So some people can get past the time barrier, but then they get stuck because it's like, well, I don't have the expertise, Chris. And because I don't have the expertise, I understand I'm going to have to invest the time to, learn how to do it in a way that, I'm not going to, lose money or really get hurt. And I don't have the time to do that. Okay. And then the third big part of the difficult problem that shows up is the perceived risk. Okay. So because there's a lack of expertise, that means there's a lack of really understanding, how do I get into investing in real estate in a way where I know that I'm safe and secure with my money so that I can experience this financial freedom that so many people talk about that have gotten into the game of investing in real estate. So this big, difficult problem that I've experienced over all the years that I've been, in the real estate investing space is something that shows up quite often. And so my business partner and I sat down and we thought, you know what? Let's solve this big, difficult problem. Let's put our brains together. Let's invest, our own resources to really go out there and really test and tweak and create a model that would solve the three elements of this big, difficult problem so that we could become the easy button for people and a solution for people to very safely and successfully get into the real estate investing space. Okay, so this big, difficult problem led to really asking people this question: hey, listen, if I could address these three things very clearly and convincingly, would you want to invest in real estate? And overwhelmingly, most people would say, well, yeah, of course I would, right? If you could help me with the time issue and the lack of expertise issue and you can make me feel safe, then yeah, why wouldn't I invest in real estate, okay? And so that was the big, difficult problem we identified. And then the solution we came up with is what we call the Ultimate Wealth Accelerator. And this is a bulletproof principal protection with white glove concierge service for people who want to get into the real estate investing space, okay? And that solution is what led to creating this, overview presentation of how do you safely get $10,000 of cash flow every month in real estate without all the hassle, okay? So that's the big picture of why I created this training for you today. And before we dive in, I do want to just offer this disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor, and so this presentation is for educational purposes only. I got to share that so that my lawyers don't get mad at me for playing financial advisor, okay? So to start off the training here today, let's talk about this part without all the hassle. Okay, so our solution was created to eliminate all the hassle for people who had this time element showing up in their life when we're talking about the big difficult problem. You know, they're too busy with other life priorities. So what solution could they look at that would remove all the hassle? And here's the answer to that question. How to avoid all the hassle? There's only one way to avoid the hassle, and that's to become a private money lender and play the role of the bank. All right. Now, if you're watching this presentation and you're thinking to yourself that, you know, you want to go invest the time, you know, maybe you've got several, you know, years to go out into the real estate investing space and to get your hands dirty and to make mistakes and, you know, probably lose money. I don't know any really successful real estate investors who've built companies like I have that don't have stories of like trying things that didn't work and losing money. So if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, you know, I want to be the guy or the gal that invests the time to go deal with the hassle, then what I'm sharing with you today probably isn't for you. Okay, this is for the person who doesn't want the hassle, who's looking for the easy button. And so the only way to do that in the real estate investing space is to become a private money lender and play the role of the bank. Okay, so I want you to think about it in this way. There are 4 parts of any real estate deal. And the idea here is if you have the ability to bring at least one of these 4 parts to the table, then you can get involved inside of any real estate deal. Okay, so let's see how many of these 4 you can guess. Okay, so the first one is probably going to be the most obvious one. That's going to be the money, right? If you have the money, you can get a seat at the table inside of a real estate deal. Okay, the second part is the deal, right? Obviously, somebody has to have the ability to bring the deal to the table. Now, when you bring the deal, you know, there's going to be a high hassle factor, right? You've got to have the understanding of how to find the deal, right? How to execute, you know, the marketing strategies and tactics to identify, you know, properties out in, you know, the market that would be good investments, right? You got to be able to identify it. You got to be able to understand how to negotiate with the seller of those deals to make sure you're actually getting a deal, because there's a big difference between a deal and a piece of real estate. Okay, anybody can really go invest in a piece of real estate. To find a real estate deal is an entirely different conversation, takes an entirely different level of skill. And so you got to be able to find the deal and understand how to deal with, you know, escrow and title attorneys, and you got to be able to get the deal cash flowing and performing on the back end after you close on the deal. So I think the point being made here is the hassle factor for this part of the 4 parts of any real estate deal is pretty high. Okay, the third part is the time. Okay, you've got to have the ability to invest the time. Somebody does, right, to make the deal work, to get the deal performing, to get the deal to the closing table and cross the finish line before it starts performing for you. Okay, someone's got to have the willingness to say, I'm going to invest the time. Someone like myself, our company, our team of real estate professionals who have invested our professional careers doing this. We've made the decision to invest, you know, this as a full-time experience for us. Okay, and then the fourth part of any real estate deal is the expertise. Okay, you got to have the expertise, obviously, to make sure everybody's protected and to make sure that deal's going to cash flow and perform in a way where everybody's going to win. All right, so the way to look at this is, if you want to become the private money lender and you want to avoid all the hassle of getting into a real estate deal, and you want to partner with a team of real estate professionals, you know, like myself, where we're going to handle the hassle factor of the deal. We're going to handle the hassle factor of investing the time to just figure out whatever needs to be figured out. And we're going to bring the expertise to the table, which I put high hassle factor there because, as you know, with whatever your expertise is in, professionally, there's probably been a high hassle factor for you to get from the starting line when you one day decided that's where you wanted to develop your expertise to where you are today. You know, if I wanted to go do that, you'd probably sit down and say, hey, Chris, you can do it, but you're going to need to invest a lot of time, and there's going to be a high hassle factor. Okay, so it's no different when you're deciding to professionally invest in real estate, right? Now, this is, again, why there's only one way to do this without all the hassle, and that's to become a private money lender, all right? So let's assume you're watching this presentation and you're like, yeah, I'm interested in understanding what it looks like to become a private money lender and safely get $10,000 of cash flow every month. If that's you, then I want to continue in this training, and I want to talk to you about the variables of a private lender $10,000 per month cash flow plan. Okay, these are the variables that we use inside of our model, and I think these are some of the best variables you can use in any real estate investing model. Okay, so the first variable is the asset class is single family homes, right? We know there's a lot of different types of real estate you can invest in. A lot of people get really excited about the idea of investing in these really cool, sexy, I call them sexy, like apartment complexes, for example. There's some challenges with that when you're talking about doing that safely. Okay, so in today's training, we're talking about how to safely get $10,000 of cash flow every month in real estate without all the hassle. If you're going to do that, one of the variables is you really want to stick to single family homes, and I'm going to talk to you more about why that is over the course of this training. The second thing is, in the variables in the model I'm sharing with you, the average deal is $250,000. Okay, this is our average deal. This is the variable I'm going to use inside of this plan that I'm laying out for you. Okay. The third variable is the cash-on-cash return in this plan that I'm presenting to you is going to have a 12% interest-only payments. Okay, now I'm using 12% because that's what we do inside of our real estate investing model, so I'm just going to use 12%. So you can see that. If for some reason you're looking at something that's got 11% or 8% or 6% or whatever it is, you just have to adjust for that. Okay, but this plan is going to work with 12%. The fourth variable is cash flow payments are made monthly. Okay, so in our model, we pay our private lenders cash flow, 12% interest only every single month. All right. And then the fifth variable is the primary exit strategy in this plan I'm laying out for you is owner financing. Okay, what we mean by owner financing is we are partnering with our private lenders to take the cash that they give us to go buy the property on the front end, and then we are playing the role of the bank, and then we are financing that property to a family just like a bank would. Okay, so that's why we say playing the bank, not the landlord, and we do this to maximize safety. So in our model, in this model I'm sharing with you, this is not about tenants, toilets, or termites. We don't deal with any of that. We don't deal with maintenance. We don't deal with taxes and insurance. We are the bank, and we finance these properties to families. Okay, so those are the 5 key variables in this plan that I'm laying out for you here today. So the first question that I want to encourage you to consider is, how much do I need to invest at what return to generate X amount of dollars per month of cash flow? Okay, so again, in this training, I'm using $10,000 of cash flow every month, but you might think to yourself, you know, 10,000 would be nice, but you know, I could do with 7,000 a month. Or you might go the other way. Hey, 10,000 would be nice, but I'd really like to have 20,000 a month, or 50,000, or 100,000 a month. Okay, so I want to share with you the formula that you can use to figure out what your number is, so that you can use that number inside of this plan that I'm laying out for you. Okay, so here's the formula. You're going to take the amount of cash flow that you'd like to make every month. You're going to times that by 12 months, okay? And that's going to equal your yearly cash flow. And then you're going to divide that by the return that you have the ability to access, okay? And that's going to equal the total amount of money that you need to invest in order to get to that amount of money per month, okay? It doesn't mean you have to invest it all at once, but it just, in your mind, you need to know, okay, if I want to get to, you know, in this example, $10,000 of cash flow every single month, how much do I have to invest to do that? Okay, so let's use the example that I'm laying out for you in this plan today. $10,000 times 12 months equals $120,000 per year, and then we're going to divide that by what we call the true rate. Okay, in our model, that's 12%. And I call it the true rate because in our model, we don't play around with hidden fees, any of that, funny math that let's be honest, a lot of, investment companies, a lot of mutual fund companies, there's all these fine print where, they tell you, hey, you made, 10% last year, but then when you really look at the math, it really was like 8.5% because of all the fees that came out, okay? Inside of our model, when we tell you we're going to pay you 12% cash on cash return, that's a true rate, okay? So whatever the true rate is, that's what you're going to divide by, right? So in this case, when you divide by 12%, you're going to see here that in order to make $10,000 of cash flow every single month, if you're getting a true rate of 12%, you need to invest $1 million. And that would be the case inside of the program that I run in the Creative Investing Club for our private lenders. Okay, let's look at some other options that a lot of people I talk to tell me they have. And one of those options is a CD. Okay, so in this example, I used a 5-year CD. Obviously, there's 6-month CDs, there's year CDs, 2-year, 3-year. There's all different types of CDs, but I'm just using a 5-year CD here. And I'm using 4%, okay? And the reason I'm using 4% is the average CD right now, according to the FDIC, the average CD pays between 2% to 1.7% APY, and that's depending on the term length, okay? This is from Business Insider, okay? So one of the highest CDs I found out there is 4%, all right? You might be able to get 5%, it might be 3%, but we're just plugging in 4%. You can see in this example, 10,000 times 12 months divided by 4%, you have to invest $3 million to get to $10,000 a month of cash flow. Okay, now if you're going with the average CD, which is 1.72% according to Business Insider, you're going to need to invest that number right there on the screen, close to $7 million. Okay, and then the other option that obviously comes up with people is investing in the market. Okay, so I used 9% as the true rate in this example because a lot of people that I talk to who are investing in the market, they tell me, Chris, if I could make 10% in the market, I'd be really, really happy. And most of these people are involved inside of programs that have around a 1% fee. Okay, so if you're in the market and your fee is like 0.5%, then do 9.5%. If it's 1.5%, obviously adjust that to 8.5 or whatever the true rate would be. The key really here is the true rate, right? Because we want to be able to compare apples to apples when we're looking at the options we have on the table to get to this $10,000 per month of cash flow. We want to make sure we're working with real accurate numbers. So in this example, you'd have to invest that number on the screen, right? About $1.33 million to get to $10,000 per month. Now, obviously, when we're talking about the stock market, this doesn't account for years with negative returns. I've talked to a lot of people this year, for example, that are, in the negative. I've heard as much as 32%. I talked to a guy several weeks ago who's 32% negative in his portfolio. This is a high net worth person. I talked to another, high net worth, multiple six-figure person about a month ago, said that they were negative 16% inside of their portfolio on the year. And so I didn't account for any negative return years. If you're in the market and you've had negative return years, then you have to run the calculations to show, okay, I was negative for this year, 16% or 10%, whatever it was. I'm going to have to catch back up to get break even to hit, whatever the return is you're looking to hit. Okay, but the key here really is I want to help you identify what's the very simple formula that you can use to figure out how much money do I really have to invest to achieve the investing goals that I have, right? So here's what we've established: how to safely get $10,000 of cash flow every month in real estate without all the hassle. Well, at a true rate of 12%, you got to be able to invest $1 million. Okay, so let's look at this plan at $1 million investment. Again, our variable is the average deal size is $250,000. This is around what each of our private lenders will give us when they're working with us per deal. And then the monthly cash flow, when we're talking interest only per deal on $250,000 investment, is $2,500 per month. Okay, so there are a couple options here on how to get to this $10,000 per month. The easiest simple math option is $10,000 of cash flow every month would be 4 deals, right? You invest $1 million You get 4 deals, $2,500 a month. That gets you to your $10,000 per month in cash flow. Okay, that's the kind of the no-brainer option. Let's look at option 2, okay, because a lot of people don't have $1 million to put down up front, or for whatever reason, they don't want to put $1 million up front. Okay, so let's look at what if you had one property, $250,000, and then you want to reinvest your monthly cash flow earnings. So you want to reinvest that $2,500, you want to reinvest that back into this plan. What would that look like? Okay, so I put this chart together for you to see that. You can see over here we've got year 1 to year 13. We start with the principal investment of $250,000. That's what, in this plan I'm laying out for you, that's what would get you into one deal. You can see there on year 1, that one deal is paying you $2,500 per month, which means you're going to generate $30,000 of yearly cash flow on that one deal. Okay, now if you're going to reinvest that $30,000, we go into year 2, your investment obviously now going into year 2 is $280,000. That jumps your monthly cash flow, as you can see, to $2,800, and your yearly cash flow to $33,600. So if you want to pay attention to this chart, you want to study it, feel free to pause the video right now and just, do that. But you can see here, if all you did was reinvest the monthly cash flow, you would see at year 14, you would have $1,090,873.36 of equity. Okay, what that means is this is the principal. Your $250,000 of principal has now grown to over $1 million. All that money is protected inside of the real estate investment asset. So you have all that equity, and every month, year 14 going forward, you've got $10,908.73 coming in every month, or you can see the yearly cash flow is $130,000, almost $131,000 a year. And that's obviously going to continue to grow, but if in this plan, the goal was to get to $10,000 a month, and you wanted to just invest $250,000 and just reinvest it, you're looking at year 14 to get there, all right? Now, a third option, and there's probably several options we could really define if we really understand what your unique variables are inside of your own financial blueprint and financial investing goals. But I thought one other option might be if you were to say reinvest your monthly cash flow earnings every year, but then maybe you're saving some money during the course of the year and you decide to invest an additional $25,000 at the end of each year. Okay, that's going to cut that 14 years down to around 9 years, right? And my thinking on that was most people are going to have money that they can invest because most people tend to invest, on a monthly basis, okay? And I just threw $25,000 in as an example, right? So those are maybe 3 options to consider on how to get to $10,000 of cash flow every month in real estate inside of this plan where you're acting as a private lender, all right? So we talked about how to do it without all the hassle. That was the one part of the big difficult problem that this solution is solving. Let's now talk about that second, one of the 3 parts was safety, this perceived risk, right? When I talk to people, why aren't you in real estate? A big response is, well, I know real estate's a great place to generate financial freedom, but man, perceived risk is too high. The safety's either been missing from what I've looked at doing, or the safety's not really clear, and I just get overwhelmed, and so I just don't do anything, or I put my money where I think it's going to be safe, which is into the market or into a CD, for example. Okay, so inside of this plan I'm laying out for you, how do you safely get $10,000 of cash flow every month, all right? Let's go through that. So safety measure 1 in this plan I'm laying out is you want to make sure your principal investment is always protected by the hard asset with you as first position lien holder. Okay, we call this the banker's position. Why do we call it that? Because, as you know, the banker never loses. So in our model, we always put our private lender into the banker's position. If you've watched any of my videos online, you always hear me say the banker's position. This is what I'm referring to. You are first position lien holder on the mortgage. That mortgage is recorded at the county courthouse, and if there's ever any issues with the property, we go look at who's the person that controls this property. It's going to be you, first position lien holder. Okay. Now, this is the main reason I told you one of the variables was investing in single family homes, because if you were to, for example, invest in, say, a big brand new, multi-million-dollar apartment complex, let's say a 50, 100, and $200 million new build apartment complex, there might be 100, 200, 500 private lenders involved in that deal, and your position on the lien is going to be based on how much you gave relative to everybody else, right? So you could be lien holder 63 in a deal like that, and that's not going to be very safe, okay? Especially not as safe as being in the banker's position, right? The first position lien holder, okay? Safety measure number 2 is you want to make sure your principal investment is always protected by a notarized promissory note, okay? And that promissory note is going to outline the terms of the investment. This is the same document that banks use if they need to take over the asset, okay? So in our model, we always do a notarized promissory note with our private lenders. Safety measure number 3, your principal investment always needs to be protected by an insurance policy with you named specifically as the lost payee. So again, using that apartment complex example, you can imagine if you're investing in an apartment complex, you're not likely going to get an insurance policy from whoever is running that deal that shows you as the sole primary lost payee if, say, the apartment complex burns down, okay? In our model, because you're first position lien holder, we are going to take out an insurance policy on that property in your name. And we're going to share that with you. We're going to share that document with you so you have a copy of it, and it's going to have your name right there on it. You are the lost payee, and the insurance company is going to see that. If anything happens to that property, they're calling you up and saying, where do you want the check sent? Okay, so that's safety measure number 3. Safety measure number 4, you want to have the personal cell phone of the guarantor on the deal. Okay, so in our model, in the Creative Investing Club, I'm the guarantor on the deal, right? So you and I are going to have a relationship, for example. If you're invested in some big, multi-million-dollar investment deal, it's likely you're going to have contact with some, middle manager who's managing that deal, because that big company is probably managing lots of deals, and the guarantor or the owner of that company, you're probably not talking to that person, more than likely. Okay, so you really want to have the personal cell phone of the guarantor. If something goes wrong or you got questions, you want to be able to call them and talk to them. Okay, and that can be very difficult in those bigger deals where you're not first position lien holder. Okay, safety measure number 5, you want to have no contractual relationship with the family or the tenants living in the house, okay? So in the single family home model, or even in the big commercial rental model in apartment complexes, a lot of the investors, the private lenders who get involved in those deals, your returns are based in part on whether the family, the people in the renting position, are making their payments every month. Okay, so if the asset isn't performing with a person in there paying on the asset, like renting the apartment or renting the house, and you're involved in that deal as an investor, then your return is going to suffer, right? The guarantor on that deal is going to say, hey, listen, as long as this asset is performing, meaning the tenant is paying their rent every month, you're going to get paid the return that we're saying you're going to get paid. If for some reason the tenant is not making their payments, that's going to affect the return, okay? And everybody in the deal is going to shoulder the weight of that challenge until the challenge gets solved, and then the return will go back to what we say it's going to go to. Okay, so in our model, the way we've solved this big, difficult problem of safety is we've just said, hey, listen, if you're a private lender in our model, you have no contractual relationship with the family or the tenant living in the house. Your relationship is with us, and even if that tenant doesn't pay, even if the house is vacant, you're going to continue to get paid every single month by us, no matter what, because your relationship is with us. That is a huge, important safety measure to really look for if you can find it inside of whatever real estate deal you're looking to get into, okay? And then safety measure number 6 is you want to ensure the investment was bought at a deep discount. Okay, again, at the beginning of this training, I talked about how anybody can go buy a piece of real estate. It takes somebody with real expertise to go buy a real estate deal. Okay, so in our model, we always get at least a 25% discount. So as an example, if a house is worth $100,000, we are never going to pay more than $75,000. A lot of times we're paying $70,000, $60,000. We've paid $30,000 before on a deal and got it in a 70% discount. Okay, so you really want to make sure you're investing with a deep discount. And hopefully the reason for that's obvious. It's because if there's ever, a glitch in the market, a downturn in the market, most markets, when you're inside of stable markets like we are, most markets aren't going to drop, any more than really 10%. Okay, in a really, really, really bad market, maybe 25%. That would be a really bad market. Okay, but if that were to happen, and you were working with the right professional team of real estate investors, it's going to be fine because the house is always being purchased at least a 25% discount. So the market would have to drop at least 25% to really just be break even, where everyone's still getting paid. Okay, and if I jump back to safety measure number 5, there's one thing I forgot. In our model, if you remember, we're in the banker's position. Okay, so we are not dealing with tenants. We're not dealing with termites and toilets, as we like to say. We're dealing with families who are living in these properties, and they are in the home ownership position. Okay, now we're not giving away control of the deed or the trust. We still control all of that. But the mindset of the person in there is, hey, someday I'm going to own this property. And what does that mean? What's the difference between a family living in a property that they know they're going to own or they're on the path to own versus a tenant who knows they're never going to own that property? It's how they take care of the property, right? So in our model, those families are fixing the property up. They're taking great care of the property. They're taking care of the taxes. They're taking care of the insurance. They're taking care of all the maintenance, okay? In the tenant model, the tenant doesn't pay the taxes, the investors do. The tenant doesn't pay the insurance, the investors do. The tenant doesn't pay the maintenance, the investors do. So in the tenant model, all that cash flow is getting sucked out of that deal, and that's going to not only increase the risk on the deal, because somebody's got to fix that property up when that tenant moves out, and it's going to be the investors, right? And that means you are going to have to shoulder some of that responsibility, and that's going to show up in the return you're going to get, okay? That's not the case in our model. Our families take care of all of that. So I just wanted to make that clear. I skipped over that part. So as we close here, I just want to tell you, from a personal perspective, why I love real estate for executing this $10,000 per month plan. And the first reason is the safety and security. We've been talking about that. I can't think of a better vehicle where you can take your principal investment capital, let's say in this example, $250,000. You could go put it into the stock market, and maybe it's going to grow. Maybe it's going to, stay stable. Maybe it's going to drop by 10%, 16%. In the real estate investing model, that $250,000 is protected with the asset. Okay, this is asset-based lending. So the $250K is protected. It's there. You're going to be able to always get that back. So that's one thing I love about real estate. A second thing is the monthly cash flow. What other model out there do you know where monthly you can generate cash flow while you're experiencing safety and security? I'm not aware of one that's as incredible as real estate. The third is the true rate of return. Okay, investing in real estate, you can know what your true rate of return is and not have to worry about hidden fees or early withdrawal penalties or any of that stuff. It's like the return is the return. I love that part. And then the fourth part is the flexibility. Okay, the flexibility of the cash flow, for one, you're getting that monthly cash flow, that gives you flexibility. You can reinvest that cash flow. You could say, hey, for the next 6 months, I'm going to use that cash flow to fix up my house, to go on a vacation, to invest in a business, to do whatever you want. You have the flexibility. And then the other part of the flexibility is the principal payback, right? So if you invest, say, $250,000 into say a 401k, for example, you might not be able to touch that money for, depending on how old you are, for 10, 20, 30, 50 years, whatever it might be. There's no flexibility. In the real estate investing model, you can get your principal back on the timeline that you need to get it back and do whatever you want with it. So I really love that part, all right? Now, this brings us to the end of the training on how to safely get $10,000 of cash flow every month in real estate without all the hassle. What's next? What I want to encourage you to do is really, for sure, number one, you got to know your number. So, write this formula down and really identify what's the total investment that you need to make to achieve your investing goals. All right. Today's model was obviously around $10,000 a month. Maybe for you, it's different, and that's great. So number one, know your model. Step number two, if you are interested at all in being a private lender, then I want to encourage you to text me or call me to schedule a no obligation call. I can get all your questions answered. We can talk about what private lending is. We can talk about whether the model that we're executing in the market's a good fit for you or not. At the very least, I think we can have a great conversation. I can educate you on some of the things that maybe you're not aware of when it comes to investing in real estate. And at the very least, part ways as friends and maybe decide to partner up and start helping you generate monthly cash flow, in as little as 60 days or less from the time that we both decide it makes sense to press the go button and move forward. Okay, so if that interests you, send me a text. And then the last thing I'll say is, something my mentor always tells me is, whatever you do, don't do nothing. And on that note, I just want to say thank you for your trust. I know that your time is valuable. I want to thank you for your trust, and I want you to know I don't take that for granted. And if there's anything I can do to help you get from where you are now to where you want to be, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to connect and see what I can do for you. And that's all I have for today. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.